The United Nations Security Council once again became the center of international attention as representatives debated the future of Iran's nuclear program, the legal status of UN Security Council Resolution 2231, and the growing tensions between Iran and several Western nations. During the session, Iran strongly rejected the accusations directed against its nuclear activities and argued that recent military actions carried out by the United States violated international law and Iran's sovereignty. According to Iran's representative, Washington had continued military operations against Iranian territory despite previous commitments to halt such actions, describing the reported strikes on southern Iranian locations and islands in the Persian Gulf as serious violations of the UN Charter and bilateral understandings. Iran maintained that while it remains prepared to honor its commitments under the existing Memorandum of Understanding, those commitments depend on full compliance by all parties involved. Tehran argued that if one side continues to violate the agreement, the legal foundation for continued cooperation becomes increasingly difficult to sustain. Iran also expressed appreciation to countries, including Russia and China, for opposing what it described as an unjustified Security Council meeting and thanked Pakistan and Somalia for abstaining during procedural voting. A significant portion of Iran's statement focused on Resolution 2231, which endorsed the 2015 nuclear agreement. Iranian officials argued that the resolution expired in October 2025 and therefore no longer carries legal authority. From Tehran's perspective, all mechanisms, reporting requirements, and procedures established under that resolution ended with its expiration, meaning there is no legal basis for continued Security Council discussions or Secretariat reports under that framework. Iran further claimed that any attempt to continue implementing the expired resolution through procedural interpretations or previous Security Council practices lacks legal validity. Another major issue raised during the meeting involved the so-called snapback mechanism. Iran argued that France, Germany, and the United Kingdom, commonly referred to as the E3, no longer possess the legal standing to invoke that mechanism because they allegedly failed to fulfill their own obligations under the nuclear agreement over several years. Iranian officials contended that parties which have materially breached an agreement cannot selectively claim benefits from that same agreement while ignoring their own responsibilities. Tehran also criticized the inability of the Security Council to reach consensus during previous discussions, arguing that procedural disagreements within the Council do not create new legal rights or validate disputed interpretations of international law. Responding to allegations about its nuclear program, Iran insisted that its nuclear activities remain entirely peaceful and continue to operate under international safeguards. Officials emphasized that Iran has remained a party to the Nuclear Non-Proliferation Treaty for decades and maintained that there is no evidence its nuclear program has been diverted toward military purposes. Tehran accused several Western governments of presenting politically motivated claims designed to increase diplomatic pressure rather than accurately reflect technical findings. Iran argued that the current crisis did not begin with its recent actions, but instead traces back to the United States' withdrawal from the nuclear agreement in 2018, followed by years of unsuccessful diplomatic efforts to restore full implementation. Iranian representatives further argued that military strikes targeting nuclear-related facilities have weakened confidence in international non-proliferation efforts and increased instability across the region. During the session, Iran also criticized what it described as double standards in the international response to regional security issues, claiming that some governments were quick to condemn Iran while remaining silent about military actions directed against Iranian territory. Officials argued that such an approach undermines the credibility of international institutions and weakens the authority of the Security Council in addressing threats to global peace and security. Tehran called on the United Nations to uphold the principles of the UN Charter by addressing all alleged violations consistently, regardless of which country is involved. Another issue discussed concerned maritime security in the Persian Gulf. Iran stated that responsibility for ensuring safe navigation and any necessary demining operations should remain under Iranian authority and warned that outside interference could complicate efforts to restore normal commercial shipping. Iranian officials argued that parallel security arrangements created by external actors could increase regional tensions rather than reduce them. Throughout the meeting, Tehran maintained that diplomatic solutions remain possible if all parties respect international law and fulfill their respective commitments. At the same time, Iranian representatives warned that continued violations of agreements could lead Iran to reconsider its own obligations under existing arrangements. The Security Council session highlighted the deep divisions that continue to shape international diplomacy surrounding Iran's nuclear program, with Western countries expressing concerns about nuclear transparency and regional security, while Iran insisted that its rights under international law must be respected. The debate demonstrated that disagreements over the interpretation of previous agreements, the legal status of UN resolutions, and the responsibilities of participating states remain unresolved. Whether renewed diplomacy can bridge these differences remains uncertain, but the discussion underscored the importance of continued dialogue, legal clarity, and international engagement in preventing further escalation. As tensions persist, the international community will closely watch future negotiations and Security Council discussions to determine whether diplomatic efforts can reduce confrontation and create a path toward greater regional stability.